I'm so excited to be back. It's summer and I can't wait to talk about why you would rig your camera, especially these small mirrorless cameras, into these big, heavy, ginormous rigs. Why I did it, why you maybe are interested in doing it, and the answer really is it comes down to power. So today I wanted to talk about these rigs, and I've rigged two cameras up. I'm using the Sony A7S2, which is this guy here. This one is the A7R3, and it can be the A7III, which I'm using to shoot this video today. But basically the setup would be very, very similar. Now there's different parts on these different situations here, what I've set up here. And the reason why I set this up and being on set and shooting production on a full day with your standard batteries just doesn't really cut it, especially if you're trying to use your monitor, if you have any sort of accessories that are attached to your camera. It's not really going to hold off, and there's really, there's always room for mistakes when the cameras are on, off, batteries are being taken out, checking and rechecking, especially if you're specifically the camera operator. Becomes a little bit grueling just to keep on top of all that. Again, battery management and everything else. I've done it in the past, but I've really realized that I need that power to last me all day long. So a good answer to this, a solution to this, was this D&O lighting batteries, which I've heard nothing but great things about. Figured I'd give it a shot and buy it. Now, in order for you to power these batteries, you do need an adapter that's going to put out the power to your camera, to your monitor. I'm using the JTZ DP30, and it's great. I'm actually using it here on this one. So they basically work very similar. Obviously, you can get a battery that's 190 amps to 95 amps, which makes it a little bit lighter, but it still will last you a ton longer than any of the other batteries, which is great. I definitely think you should invest in a charger for this. Some of these units do come with a charger, and you can actually use them directly through a power outlet and power it through that if you have the ability to do that, which is great because they can charge and you can use them, and then when you kind of cable out, you can go on and do whatever you want. So what's great about these cages, obviously you can put a matte box on there, you can put your follow focus, you can deal with all that. Obviously you're going to need some rails and some other systems. Again, Small Rig makes a whole bunch of kits that are fairly inexpensive to put together, which I think is a smart way to go, and not going too crazy with these because it does the job. So I'll start with the A7R3. This matte box I got, and it was fairly cheap. You can find these matte boxes either on eBay, and it doesn't have to be a specific brand as long as it fits. So I really like this matte box specifically because I can open it up here, move the matte box out, take my lens out, and it just makes it a little bit easier. Some of the matte boxes don't have that. It's not a huge deal breaker. You can always just slide it off the rails and it's fine. So I really like that. I had this way back when I had the Canon Mark II, and I had a cinema lens on there. So I got this follow focus and I've had it ever since. It's a great follow focus, but there's so many out there now and they're so cheap compared to how it was before. As far as anything additional here, again, this is the Small Rig cage. Put a link below. And also the handle itself is made by Small Rig, same with the monitor attachment here, and I'm using the Small HD focus. It's been a great monitor. It works really well. The one thing I wish it was a recorder, but it's not. But it's small form factor, and I get enough detail when I need to punch in. I've talked about this monitor before. It's a really great monitor. I'll put a link for that as well. I did a video on that if you're still interested in this. They've come out with new ones. There's a recorder version, there's a 7-inch version, and it's a great monitor, great company. So if you want to look into that, please check the link below. As far as having the V mount here, I'm using the JTZ DP30. Now this thing is really great. It comes with a whole bunch of wires that'll help you connect to your monitor, to your camera, or anything else that you may need. Now you're going to need a battery adapter obviously to hook this onto. And I got that. It's fairly inexpensive. You can find them on Amazon. They're not, they're not too pricey. As far as everything else, again, you can power this up. It's got a USB connection here as well if you wanted to power some small devices like a follow focus or something like that. I don't think it's going to power your camera. From this output here, I don't think it has enough juice to power your camera, so you still have to use these connections here. Now, some have more power than others. I'm also powering the monitor directly from the battery itself, which has a DTAP in here, which is great. So I've got a whole bunch of little connectors here. You could technically power this up through just plugging into the wall. You have an adapter, and you can do that if you want to do that, and then you want to pull it off, you're good to go, and you can use the battery as well. I'm using the D&O lighting, specifically the batteries. It's the 190, and I'm using the 95 as well. I wanted one heavier battery that's lasted all day on a shoot, which I've been really happy with. So far, so good. You get a ton of charges out of these, so they should last you pretty long. So far, it's been great, and you do have some battery indicators here. So if you look here, you click that, it'll tell you how much power you got left on your battery. Again, I've used it for a full day, and it's been great, and this is the 190. I do have the 95 as well, and it lasted for about 4 to 5 hours as well. Here I have just a little kind of adjustable gorilla arm here. So here I can add a second monitor if I wanted to put the recorder on here. All fits in there nice and snug, and I can also power the monitor as well. So that's it pretty much for the A7R3 setup. Just want to get into the A7S2 setup. So here I have the Ninja Assassin, the 4K monitor. What's great about it, obviously, it records to ProRes, 4K. It's great. Obviously, it doesn't deal with some of the slow motion stuff, and either does the A7S2. So it's a perfect fit for it. But the new Atomos monitors are pretty great as well. So for this setup, I have a vintage lens here, which has been great. Actually, my dad gave me this lens, and it's just a fantastic lens, really cinematic. Again, the cage itself, you can get from small rig, the handle as well, small rig. You still have some room here to be able to grab this up and down. It is a heavy setup, but it's been really fantastic. So the follow focus I actually got with my Moza Air 2, and I'm using it here remotely. What's great about this is that I can go handheld. And I hooked it up here with everything that came with it. And then when I'm holding it, I can actually pick it up and just use my finger to focus back and forth, which is really great. Again, I have this on other lenses, which I have the ring on and use it. I just want to show you. But I can power this from this setup right here. I can power the follow focus, the controller, and also the ring itself, which is great. So that's a plus. The other thing that I have here that's a little bit different is going to be the A box here that I'm using for Wooden Camera. This is where I have the audio in. So if I need to use audio, I've been using this, and it's been really clean audio. So I'm using the audio direct to the A7III right now, what I'm shooting on. It's not as good as it is coming from the A box. I don't know why, but it isn't that great. And the A7S2, I have to say, for an old camera, it's still a fantastic camera. The image here is great, and using it on production, I feel really kind of comfortable with it. I just know this camera in and out. It never lets me down. Again, with the power, addition of the power, because if you remember, these batteries are really horrible. But with the addition of the power, having this set up the way that it is, and using the external recorder, this is such a fantastic camera, and I'm really, really impressed by it. Again, recently shot a commercial on the Red. Red is a beautiful camera. I mean, you can't compete with these cameras as far as like how big the images can be, 6K, 8K. But on the other hand, I don't think these are that far off, especially depending on the production that you're doing. If the production allows for a really big budget, then I say you can choose whatever camera you want to shoot on. But for most of the production that I'm using, I really love using these cameras. I haven't had any complaints yet as far as using these cameras on production. So really happy with it. Again, the rigs themselves really help you through the day. It's all about just making your life easier. I know it's super easy to just take the cameras out, use them as photo cameras, or use them just with the cage itself, or even without the cage, you've got yourself a camera. So that's not a big deal. So building them up just takes I don't know, a good 15 minutes just to kind of put these together right, make sure you're wiring everything right, testing it out. But then beyond that, it's good to go. And the break apart is fairly quick as well. If you're gonna go with these 15mm rods, try to get ones that are at least, you know, 10, 12-inch rods. So this way it gives you enough room to be able to put a matte box on. Now, if the lens is really long, you probably can't get away with this. You can put an ND on there just if you need to. But having these longer rails obviously help you move things back and forth and be able to adjust the camera the way that you like it, whether you're using a matte box on it or not. It gives you the room and the flexibility to put the follow focus and all the other accessories on there. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please hit that bell button if you want to be notified when I put a new video out, which hopefully I'll be doing more of now that it's summer. I'm going to be shooting a lot more. I'd love to talk about other things as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.